Joining me now to discuss his latest article on townhall.com is Salem's very own Kevin McCullough, host of That Kevin Show. Kevin, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Stacy, great to see you.
All right, so let's talk about your latest article over at townhall.com. It's These Three Ideas Will Win 2024. What ideas, Kevin?
I'm kind of on a rampage about this week, Stacy, so I'm glad that you guys called. This is a simple election. It does not have to be complicated, and it does not need to be confusing. And if Republicans and conservatives and people of center right common sense belief work on just these three areas of messaging, they will win in a landslide because we have the right position and record on these three issues. And they are very simply these three things. If Donald Trump in the debate on Thursday, and I think this is what he's going to do, it's what he's been doing in his speeches, says, I'm going to protect your safety, I'm going to protect your money, and I'm going to protect your children. If those are the three tenets of his speech, every single Republican running for office up and down the ballot for Senate, U.S. Congress, locally, et cetera, they just need to parrot those three lines. I'm going to protect your safety. I'm going to protect your money. I'm going to protect your kids. And if they do that, they're going to win in a huge majority because every independent, unaffiliated, and even leftist voter that I know wants to have a safe place to live. They want to make more money and be able to provide for their family better. And they want their kids to be left alone from the nefarious forces that are trying to devour them, that the far, far left is trying to force upon them. It's not a hard election. It's a simple message, and it's something that can be repeated millions and millions and millions of times between now and November 5th. And it's what, candidly, we have to do if we want to win. If we want to change the country, we have to say we're going to protect our safety, we're going to protect our money, and we're going to protect our kids.
Yeah, and so those are three areas that are currently under attack by the woke left, and they're obvious in their motives now. I'm old enough to remember, Kevin, when leftists used to attack kids by embedding things in curriculum, and they'd kind of do things under the dark of night in the cover of their aims underneath, the Department of Education or your local school district. They would be doing these things on the sly. Well, now they're open with it. They're actually campaigning and running on it. And they believe that if you don't accept the way that they want things to be, that you're some kind of a bigot or a phobe, or, you're some kind of person that I think one of the most recent insults was the Supreme Court is living in the 1700s. That kind of talk plays well on CNN and MSNBC, but at home where people live with their kids, that sounds like an attack. And it is. And President Trump has been going after it. But I think there's something else. And so I love your idea of the three things, but we need a whole of campaign approach. Everyone always talks about the Trump campaign, but there are literally hundreds of other campaigns running on the GOP side where this same messaging and language should be adopted. So it's a unified thing. So Americans hear it again and again and again. Each American has to hear it something like 49 times before they understand that that's what he's running on. And that's a very short window when we don't all watch CBS anymore. We don't all watch the 6 o'clock news anymore. Everyone's getting their news from a different place. So I love your idea, but we need to go to the RNC and I'll have that top down. All campaigns include these things in their messaging, as well as whatever they're talking about.
Stacey, that's not only right, it's right on so many levels. And let me just explain. Everything that can be run on is found in those three areas. Safety includes border security and shutting the border, but it includes backing the blue and stopping crime that's on a terrible spree in our largest cities. Safety includes, being tough on violent criminals and not letting them roam to rape 12-year-olds. If you don't have the people here that are going to want to do that, you can't. That won't happen. Protecting our money includes everything from lowering the tax burden on the small business owner. It includes things like the child tax credit and making sure that President Trump's tax cuts stay in effect. They don't expire. But it also includes things like energy independence, where if we start drilling domestic sources of energy again, we're going to bankrupt the bad guys and make everything in our grocery shelves cheaper. It's a simple approach, but it's protecting our money through a whole of policy approach, to coin your term. And then on the children's level, it can be whatever the candidate needs. If they're needing to run on the pro-life message and make that kind of a vibrant part of what they're saying, you certainly, that's an obvious one. But it also goes to, should boys be on high school girls sports teams in their locker rooms and in their showers? And the answer by every independent and center left person I know is no. I don't want a boy in the same locker room with my daughter. I'm not going to be harsh towards people that feel like they're in some sort of other body than what they were born in. But that doesn't mean we have to capitulate and change all of society so that that feeling doesn't get crossed. And at the end of the day, people care about their children. They know that the money that they're making is vital to the welfare of their family. And if they don't have a safe place to live and exist, none of it matters. So you can talk about the ad infinitum minutia of Social Security or Medicare or whatever else down the road, but right now we're in crisis mitigation mode in this country, and we need to protect our safety. We have to protect our money, and we will protect our kids. That's not a negotiable.
It is. And with these stories now coming every week, Kevin, and I'm glad that you actually explained how each of the topics it falls under those three major headings. So you have the three major headings, and then you have little, someone will say, but what about immigration? Falls under safety. So that's a good way for people to kind of say this encapsulates all of it. But let's go back to what you just said there. Stories in the headlines now every week for the past 3 weeks. A young mom of five. Before that, it was Lake and Riley, but we had a little lull, and then I guess the rapists were like, "No, we got to get back in the news." So they kidnap a 12-year-old girl, rape her, kill her, throw her into a bog. These are crimes that are happening in broad daylight. The crime against the young woman who was walking down the street in New York City, that was a couple of weeks ago. A man catches her by the neck with a belt, rapes her in broad daylight. People are walking by. There's all of these stories about it's always against women and children. It's
Hmm.
always broad daylight. It's always, people who are in the country illegally, illegal aliens, as we're no longer allowed to say. And there's always a violent end to it where a family loses a mother, parents lose a child. This is going on so frequently. I mean, I spoke to Charlie Kirk on my radio show the other night, and he said America's women are being kidnapped and raped and killed. And what are we doing about it? It's a great question.
Well, and to be very clear, kind of what I said at the beginning, this attack, this goes directly against the things that the Biden administration has attacked us with. So, for instance, if you're running in a congressional seat, and I'm very familiar with a campaign here in New Jersey that could flip the balance in the state from one side to the other if this particular district wins. And I said, you can pin that congressman that's in that seat to the policies of Joe Biden if for no other reason than he did nothing to oppose them. He never said no. He never raised his hand and said, maybe we should reconsider this. He never stopped any of the onslaught that was coming against him. And if you're not working against the evil, then you're working with it. And that's what every congressional race needs to come down to. Who's going to stand with the current administration and their policy of open borders and lawless crime and all the rest of it? Who's going to stand with the other option, which is President Trump and his willingness to shut the border, deport the murderers and the rapists, and to say that we're going to back the blue in our big cities where the crime sprees are the worst? It's not a difficult message to understand, and it's one that every common sense person, regardless of partisan stripe, cares very strongly about. I want to be able to feel safe when I walk down my street at night. I have the right to expect that as an American. And this administration, this government, this congressman, this senator that's in power right now, if they haven't been fighting against it, then they've been working with it. And it's time to get rid of them. It's time to say, we're not taking any prisoners on this. It is a scorched earth. You are gone if you've been working with the administration on these policies.
And I would just add that with everyone still talking about the possibility of Biden not being the nominee for the Democrats after their convention, you tie this to the Democrats as you have just done, Kevin. You tie it to the Democrats and their ideology. It doesn't matter who their nominee is. The policies will be the same, if not worse, and everything they're doing now will continue. You have to elect someone new if you want change. Kevin, we always have a good time when you come here to Stacey, Washington Now. Thank you for being here with me today,
Thank
friend.
you.
All right, we'll
Honor.
talk to you again soon. Have a great afternoon. And my question for you now is, friends, should our government, which tracks our personal spending down to the amount of $400, keep track of federal foreign research spending? I'll talk to you next about the Pentagon not being able to figure out how much money they spend on risky virus research in China. Yeah, that's right, in China. More to come after this.